Hello, everyone. We're just about ready to get started here. I'd like to thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping items before we get started. My name is Phil Znak, and I'm the Educational Technology Committee representative for La Cité College in Ottawa. The Virtual Lunch and Learn webinar series is brought to you by the ETC. The ETC is comprised of members from all 24 colleges in Ontario, Canada. The sharing of ideas, best practices, and teaching and learning strategies related to the use of technology inside and outside of the classroom is a central characteristic of the committee and the inspiration for this webinar series. In addition to this webinar, we have 5 more coming up in the series. Visit our website to sign up for more of our webinars. Our next webinar is Open Educational Resources. Now is a great time for these on November 4th at 12 p.m. If you'd like to facilitate a webinar, please visit our website that is visible on the screen and sign up. I will also be posting the different URLs in the chat window soon enough. Last but not least, you want to join our webinar mailing list, stay informed about upcoming webinars, each term, opportunities to facilitate webinars, and information about the Advanced in Learning Conference. Visit the link on the screen and also in the chat box to sign up for the mailing list. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Jim Kinney from George Brown College. He'll be facilitating a webinar today, Empowering Faculty and Student Content Creation with Adobe Spark. So over to you, Jim. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow you to do so yourself. So have a nice webinar, everyone.
Thank you very much, Phil, and welcome everyone. Thanks for bringing me into your living rooms and your basements and your bedrooms or wherever it is, a broom closet that you may be conducting your classes from these days. I was fortunate enough that my wife is a voice actor and she needed a studio to work from. So the spin-off benefit for me was that I have a place where I get to work each day. So there I am. It's actually my wife's space, but I'm taking over for today. I asked just a quick polling question, and unfortunately, Blackboard really concatenates the response characters. And so I had 4 questions for you, just very quickly, and it's basically telling me what it is you're here for today. And the first response, number 1, was, I've never heard of Spark before, but you're interested in creating some more compelling content for your course. The second response is, I've heard about Spark, but I've not seen it in action, but I hope to create more compelling course materials. The third response shown in the poll is, I've heard of Adobe Spark, I've used it a bit, but you want to know how it might be used in other ways in an educational setting. And the final response is, I'm more interested in how my students might use the Spark platform. So if you wouldn't mind just quickly choosing one of those 4, I'd appreciate that. And then I'll share the results with you. So far we have, this is just like my students, we have 11 no responses. So Jessica's never heard of it before, and she's interested. I'm just wondering, can you see the actual poll up there in front of you, folks? No. Well, that's probably got something to do with it. And it won't allow you to select. That's interesting. Try it again. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There. It's working now. All right, so we've got enough there. 1 non-respondent. Let's just take a quick look. Here's the results. And we've got 5 that have never heard of it before, 4 that have heard about it but want to see it in action. 2 people have heard about it, they've used it, they want to see maybe how other educators are using that platform. And 3 of you are interested in how students might be using it. So let's start out then with the presentation. So first off, I want to share a file with you. There we go. What is Spark exactly? For those that don't know, it's really a full spectrum platform for crafting really compelling digital narratives. Really, at its core, it's about digital storytelling using multimedia. And if we take a look at, we will take a look at the Spark platform later. It can do anything from content authoring for print and social media graphics. It can create websites, and it can also create video content. But beyond that, it also enables brand management, for consistently branded materials with whether it's your college or your school logo. It also has a design framework built into it, so it removes any requirement for being a visual graphic designer. So it's not just for artists and designers. It's made for everyone. There's also a social sharing component to it, which allows you to distribute the materials that you create through a number of popular channels like Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, and so on. More importantly, it helps to facilitate the creation of more engaging content. And it removes a lot of barriers. So it removes a coding barrier. Before, if you wanted to create a really nice website, you had to know coding. And if you wanted to make it look good, you had to know a little bit about design in order to pull that off, and also tools required to do that. It's an incredibly simple platform to use, and it's multi-platform. So it's platform agnostic. You can use it on PC, you can use it on Mac, you can use it on an iPad, a Chromebook, you can use it on your cell phone. And so all of the access barriers have been completely removed. So it's very universal in that respect. So next up, for those of you that want to see maybe what other people are doing, I've got a number of examples for you here today. And I'm going to start out with just sharing how I use the platform. So this is a faculty project guide, and the link's not working. So I will just flip to it here for you. I'm going to need to share my screen. And bear with me. There we go. And so in this first example, this is course material that I give to my students, and this is for a character design and animation course that I teach. I'm at the Center for Art, Design, and Information Technology at George Brown. And this is a website, also called a presentation. And you can see that it's got this lovely parallax scrolling, how you can see how the text is kind of layered over top of the graphic as it moves. And this is typical of the kind of materials that I give my students. And you'll notice you can have sidebar materials here, lovely full screen graphics. You can embed videos. This is a video from YouTube. It's talking about the uncanny valley effect. The student clicks on it, it takes them to YouTube. I'm not going to play this video for you, but you can see firsthand how that works exactly. And it expands it to full screen. And again, you can embed more videos and you can embed graphics. And as I'm walking them through it, I'm also modeling documentation using this platform. Because I use this, and you'll see an example in just a sec, I use this extensively for reflexive journals, so promoting metacognition with the students. And so that's typical of something I would give to my students. This is a breakdown of me actually doing a project myself and sharing with them my insights, the background theory that I'm taking into consideration, and all the way to the end, writing about takeaways. And of course, samples of previous students' projects in here. Now, this is one that you might be using. I don't know what your various subject matter might be, but this is one that could be used virtually for any submatter. And this is a project I did with my students, and it was called Memes on Themes. It was just exploring social issues that were affecting them using a combination of text and images. This could have been nurses doing a social media campaign on proper septic technique for scrubbing up before going into an OR. It could be just a public awareness campaign about social distancing, any number of things. But in this case, we explored a whole bunch of different themes where students were finding visuals and putting a line of text together with it. And really, when you think about it, coming up with a social media campaign requires that you understand the nature of the audience to whom you're speaking, the nature of the messaging, what it is you're trying to get across to them, and obviously a fairly in-depth degree of content knowledge. Because in order to get something that's, on the face of it beguilingly simple, it really embeds a lot of deep knowledge in order to get this kind of synthetic thinking in the end. And so we explored things like transit, we explored things like, so there's some transit ones there. The closing the gap, that was one that we did on income disparity. And this one was on civility, trying to get along in a big crowded city. And so we explored a number of themes. And like I said, those themes could be related to any discipline. And they did that as a week-long social media campaign, requiring them to create social media posts for Instagram or Facebook on a weekly basis. This is a sample of learning documentation, a learning journal. And this is one that I did with my students. And so this is really a framework. This is to show them the components of the learning documentation that I want them to mimic when they document their own learning. And so it's self-explanatory as they go through it. And I typically would give them something like this for each major project and talk about each section and what it is I want them to document in there. And this was a project we did with a not-for-profit group called Start to Finish. And they promote childhood literacy, support for meal programs, backpack programs, and so on and so forth. And normally, now these were foundation students, and normally I wouldn't wade into that with foundation students. It typically would be second and third year students. However, because of the simplicity of this platform, I don't need to preface it with teaching them coding or teaching them advanced video editing and things of that nature. So taking all of that technical lift off the table allows me to engage with them directly in the issues and the stories behind those issues. And so here again, I'm just modeling. Again, this is a website presentation. You can see the lovely interactions in the graphic as we're going through it. And so this is really a learning journal framework, what we're looking at here. I've given a breakdown for that. And I'm going to share all these links with you in the chat room. This was a pivot project. So, we were caught completely unaware, and immediately we had to pivot to teaching online. And again, because of the simplicity of the platform, I was able to get my students to really pivot on the subject matter of the moment. And this is a video on the effects of COVID-19. And I'll just play you a very short little bit of this clip. I'm not so sure it will work because Blackboard doesn't play well with video often, but we'll see.
Guys, my name is John, and I'm a 23-year-old student living in Toronto, Ontario. Our story begins between the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. 2019 was a big year for me. I started my first year of college at George Brown, studying art and design foundations. Being in this connected age, we have the ability to share and receive information from all over the world from our fingertips. A tacky photo from your mom on WhatsApp, an article posted on Facebook, just about anywhere with a newsletter, or even an email from a Nigerian prince looking to bless me with his fortune. Seeing news from just about anywhere makes us very wary of the information we receive and has us even double checking with friends and family before we can decide if it's true. In January 2020, COVID-19 outbreaks first started to appear. We were very doubtful at first. We thought it was only something that was a threat to those living in China. And before it was affecting major economies, there was a lot of hearsay and xenophobia. People were already pointing fingers at Asian people, some calling it the Wuhan virus or Kung flu, and then some people even saying that it came from bat soup. Although the Chinese government did an excellent job of shutting down public spaces, transportation, and travel to ensure the slow transmission of the virus. Living in Toronto, we weren't fazed by it. It didn't happen in our...
Anyway, you can see right there that, that could easily have been for a journalism program. Just looking at issues of xenophobia and the sort of social consequences of COVID. And again, I just want to reiterate, because of the simplicity of the platform, I didn't have to do a heavy lift in terms of getting them prepared and ready to create this content. That video that you just saw there was a video made using Adobe Spark, and the student would narrate their own voice to pictures that they'd either created themselves or that they had captured from within the Spark platform. This was another pivot project that we worked on, so I gave them a choice of different narratives because, like I said, essentially, this is a digital narrative platform. And this was supporting a school in the Waterloo region, kindergarten students, with math literacy resources. And this was a website that would be given to parents and teachers of kindergarten-age children, because a lot of educators were caught not having any online content. And so I got my students, some of them had volunteered to pivot their project work into helping out in this respect. So they were able to create these great resources. The kindergarten teacher provided the content and the research background. The students did the research and then created these materials. And again, this is the students' own documentation. So this is their learning journal. And they're walking us through all of the component parts of this wonderful video that they created with learning exercises tied to. And this lovely, this is a website, but they also did a learning reflection as well. What were the takeaways of getting engaged in this project work? Again, we didn't have to worry about whether or not these students knew how to code up a website or knew extensive Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing. And again, like I said, this is the learning reflection given by that same student. And now they're sharing their whole process, their initial sketches, all their background research, and so on. And this is also something that I share with my students. And again, this is applicable to any discipline. this is called what I call a storied portfolio. It's really just an accounting of the work that a student has done in their life at college and supporting that with imagery that's pertinent to the subject matter. And again, this is what I would call a story scaffold or framework. And I'm going to share this with you as well. And you're actually quite welcome to borrow from this. And this walks students and educators through the entire process of what's important in telling your story. And so that's a story scaffold. So if you're using these tools, it's important because they're storytelling driven to understand the nature of story. And it's really, if we think about it, we're moving into an area where we're moving away from traditional kind of academic means for expressing knowledge, like the essay, the paper, the quiz, the test, and we're moving into a narrative form of knowledge production, knowledge sharing, and expressing that in different ways. And just got a few pop-ups here.
Yeah, that was me, Jim. I was just raising my hand because we have a few questions in the chat that maybe you want to take a few minutes to answer before we go forward.
Okay.
First question is, Spark essentially a platform for web page creation? So that was from Jessica.
Okay, Jessica, it'll create social media graphics, it'll create web pages, it'll create flyers, it'll also create video. So it's quite robust in giving you a range of different output options. And it also can generate content for any of the popular social media platform formats, for Facebook, Facebook banners, Instagram stories, Instagram posts, and so on and so forth. So when you create your social media campaigns, if that was something you were going to do, it can automatically stream the content out to any of those other platforms in a format that's pertinent to that particular platform. Okay. Are you pairing students' projects from Kim through GBC's relationship with Ripen? No, I did see that after the fact, though, and it did make me think that maybe I should formally connect through Ripen and do it that way. I'd already just sort of plunged into this on my own with my students. I found the partner, and they were quite willing, and they've used a lot of these materials, and it's provided sort of startup opportunities for some of our students. Have you used this to share as an introduction? Have you used this to share about myself as an introduction? Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, in trying to model digital storytelling for them, I often start with simple exercises about talking about the earliest memory of creativity that you have. And I would actually, to demonstrate it, I would show them that as I created the work. And, you know, I always share a real story with them when I create a little video. So they get to see me being vulnerable and sharing something personal. I think it's really important to model the kind of outcomes that you want in return from your students. We'll just jump to, I think I'd already shown that one. And I think we can just jump into a demo. And so in that case, I'll just show you what it was I wanted to demo. Just this final slide here. Just some other ideas. So we're going to jump into the Spark platform, and I'm going to do a demo of a kind of situation where you might want to do some social and emotional learning with your students, particularly in these trying times. Maybe want to do a health check-in. And if you want, you can follow along with me and actually do this. So if you were just to go to spotadobe.com, do it here, and this is your home screen, which gives you a number of channels in which to publish your ideas, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or you're creating a website presentation or a video slideshow. You can also do branded content as well. So you can see I've got a brand called Prof2Go. So on Twitter, I'm found at Prof2Go, and I've got my own color scheme. I was just kind of riffing on the Go train there, and that can be applied to absolutely everything that you create. And just want to get to, yeah. So
Jim, apparently we're not seeing the presentation here.
Sorry.
Yeah, you need to share
Back
your
on that
tab.
slide. Okay, so
yeah.
just get back to screen sharing. And
if you're able to share your Chrome tab, then we'll be able to see everything that you're doing. Yeah. Rather than this screen, if you can share your Chrome tab, so if you go over to share and click on share application screen and then choose Chrome tab, then we won't see picture in picture in picture.
Yeah, okay, you should be good. You should be good now with that. Right? You can see that? So if we go here, you can see that I've got all of my, there's your home screen. And these are all your starting points, depending on what it is you want to create. And these are your recent projects that you've worked on. And you have a whole bunch of templates. So like I was saying earlier, if you're not a designer, that's not a barrier. That's being removed. If you don't know how to use it, that's not a barrier either. There's all this great learning content as well down here that will allow you to learn how other people are utilizing the platform. Again, with the branding, so if I just open that up, any kind of content that I create, just skip that on me there, any sort of content that I create will automatically be branded. And you can create a brand by adding your college logo, for instance. So you can upload your college logo there. You can pick your color schemes very accurately. You can choose the fonts that are being used by your college, and instantly you can see with all the different types of social media posts, whether it's a Facebook banner or it's an Instagram story, you can see just in here in the templates how it would brand that, just using a generic brand at this point in time. If we go to the home screen, you'll also notice up top that there's a live speaker series. So this is part of the learning. We have live broadcasts, not just here, but also on the Education Exchange. And you can learn from the best in there. Now, one way to add content is just hitting the plus sign. And you've got a number of options up here. You can begin your path to creation down here if you wish, or up here. Just another way of accessing it. If we're taking a look at a health check-in, imagine this as an exercise with your students. So how are you feeling today? Express it to me in pictures. So choose 5 images that express how you're feeling today. So you can either upload this or you can search from a massive database for imagery. So I'm feeling, let's say, nerves. Let's see what that means. Pick that. That's a good one that kind of expresses it. Perhaps a little rushed. Let's see what that says. It's kind of misinterpreted my meaning here. Anxiety. And I continue to choose my imagery and upload those. Oh, sorry, not
Hey, Jim.
yes.
People in the chat were wondering if it was possible to just share the Chrome tab just so we can get a better view of what's happening in the
Okay.
page.
All right, sure. All right, so stop sharing that. And hoping it's that one. Yeah, there we go. That better?
That's a lot better, Jim.
Okay, so we've selected our images and then we click next. Now we choose the format that we want to share it in. So it could be as an Instagram story or the typical Instagram post, the square format, or you can create it for Facebook posts. It's entirely up to you. Typically, I just get them to do a 1-to-1 square. You click next. It automatically generates a photo collage. Okay. Of course, it's dispensing a lot of social media wisdom as you're waiting. I'd rather wait less. I don't know if it's an internet situation. But again, I think, oh, here we go. Thank goodness. So it's already done this. And of course, you can remix this at any time. You can change the relative size of the imagery, and you can bring different images in. And then once you've done that, I'm sorry, I'm picking up on some chatter. Are there any questions there? It's all copyright free. If you're going outside of the platform, then you're responsible for honoring any of the copyright. But any of the images that you search within the platform are already vetted. Okay. So as you can see, I've got this thing here, and you can change the scaling inside the image. You can rotate an image. You can do free movement of the imagery. You can replace an image with something else. And then finally, again, a lot of young people love filters. You can filter the images, change the color, and eventually you can share those. So it saves that post automatically to the cloud, and you can share it off to Google Drive, which is a new feature, or you can publish that, which makes it. And then you can choose which channel you're saving it out to and publish to. So in this case, I'm pushing it to Twitter, and it would generate a Twitter link, and you can see that posts directly to a person's Twitter feed. You can see you can also publish to Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom, or you can just make it a link that you could share with your professor and post that up in Blackboard or whatever your learning management system was in that case. So that's a Spark post. Now, that didn't have any text on it, but if you wanted to do an Instagram post, you could do so.
Jim, we're not seeing your screen at this point, I don't think. I'm not. I don't know if the others are.
Because I've switched browser tabs. Okay. I was really hopeful that the PDF links were going to work for me here inside Blackboard, but that was hoping for too much. And so I think that'll narrow it down. Let me just do this. Okay. There we are. Okay, so in this particular case, you've got all of these templates that you can choose from and remix the messaging and the imagery on. Or you can simply add your own content. So if I wanted to talk about anxiety, I could start with a photograph. I could upload my own photography, find free ones. Adobe Stock is a paid service with licensed imagery from, amazing photographers all over the globe. I can also access, if I'm a Creative Cloud user, access libraries of content that I have in my Creative Cloud, also from Lightroom, Dropbox, Google Photos, and Google Drive. Wherever you store your images, you can pick them up here. But I'm just going to use this amazing free photograph. And I'm just going to pin it to the background. And then I can add some text. And you'll see again, I have a number of templates for how that text might be handled. And I'm just going to choose this one. And it positions it. It's using an artificial intelligence engine called Sensei to make decisions about where content is, what the context is. So it knows automatically to use white because of dark background. So a lot of these decisions are being made for you right off the get-go. Now you can change it to centered, flush right. You can use this block text feature and change the messaging. And you can change the location of this to wherever you feel it's more appropriate. You can scale it up. And of course, you can change the color, put it inside an actual shape. You can add effects and change styles. There's a style wheel here. I kind of like that. I think that's working better. So the style wheel will shuffle through a number of appropriate styles like font and color choices for you. And if you feel that's what you want, you can then share that. Or you can download it and publish it to any platform that you see fit. If you're publishing, again, I can push it out to Facebook, Twitter, Classroom, Teams, or create a publishable link. I could copy that link and pass that on to my professor. So that's creating a social media graphic. That's a post that typically you would use in Instagram. And then, let's go back here. Let's say you were creating a website. In this case, I create a web page and give that a title. Okay, and click the plus sign, and now you're asked to use a photo to give an emotional context to the statements you're making in your opening title. Again, you can find the appropriate image. And then as you scroll down, you're invited to contribute more types of media. So that could be another photograph, another video, a grid of multiple photos. And again, let's just do that. We'll just use a number of different photos to express a kind of emotional state. We can save that grid and then add a caption to that. And continue to add to that. When we're working with text, it's got the formatting already baked into it. First level title, second level title, pull quotes, bullet points, numeric lists, bold, italic. You can embed links for web URLs, and then some basic level formatting of flush left, centered, and flush right. Explain how you are feeling today in 10 words or less. And that can be a title. So it's as simple as clicking on it and choosing a title. And then we can add more text. Time we hit return, it's creating another paragraph, which allows for, again, differential formatting. That's a quotation. Again, another full quotation that's handled in this particular manner based on a number of what we call themes. Now, themes right now are branded based on Prof2Go. So it's using my color scheme and it'll use my logo. but there are a number of different ones. We can give it, as the name implies, a more whimsical look. And how that theme handles titles and subtitles is very different from what my branded theme was. There's another one called Baldwin, and so on and so forth. You can start to format these things. Again, like I said, it also handles video. So we can bring video in from YouTube. Now I've got a YouTube video here. Just paste that in. You can see, there's a video. And that can be embedded there as well. We're also able to put in things called a glide show. So we'll take a number of images. And we can save those images. And you'll notice it brings them up full screen. And you'll also notice this sidebar here. So you can have contextual information juxtaposing with the imagery that lies underneath. And so here we could add text. Sometimes I feel all alone. And again, we could set that up as a pull quote. And isolation is a fact of life in a pandemic. And again, we could go on and have our students talk about that aspect of their lives. Again, we could add in other photos. Sometimes a rainbow breaks through the cloud. Again, in these sidebars, we can add other video content. Again, with a link to something that's being published on YouTube, Vimeo, or directly from Spark Video. So on that, let's jump over to Spark Video, and we'll create something on dealing with anxiety in Spark Video. So again, we'll start with the content button, or we could start down here, slideshow. Slideshow and video are the same thing. What's nice about this is it has a narrative framework already. So right off, it wants you to stop and consider your title. Because a title should really be a good kind of synthesis of everything that your story's all about. That's what I'm going to use as my title, Holding Fast. Once you get into there, you're presented with a number of archetypal story forms. So you're either trying to promote an idea in this case, so you want to create change and you want to move your audience into actually doing something, clicking and donating, or clicking and volunteering, or you want to relate a personal experience, something that had happened to you. Or you can have a story that's transformative, something where your life changed, where you had an aha moment and went from being person A to person B, much enriched, much changed, and able to attack the world in a very different way. So this is a very well-known archetypal story format. Show and tell is a little more didactic. It's, show me something that you did, tell me about it and what you learned from it. Personal growth, again, very transformational in nature, or just simply teaching a lesson. And invitations, so this is an event-driven story format, and then this is a fully customizable one where you just make it up yourself. So you're teaching a lesson. Let's use this very didactic format and see what it presents us with. As with every story, it starts out with an opportunity to get some quick orientation tips to the interface. And if you play that, it sort of orients you to where things are located and what their functions are. Right off the top, you'll notice that every single slide is labeled. So there's an overview slide, and there's the concept's main idea, and providing an example of that, and then explaining it in greater detail, and then a you try it slide where you're compelling the audience to give it a go and put it into action, and then a kind of summary of what just happened. So with each slide, as you click on it, it gives you, and we can disable these little subtitles here, but it gives you a question, a prompt. So it's got this story scaffolding. What will you teach and why is it interesting or relevant? And how will people use what they learn? And what I'll often do is just script it right in here. I'll just add some text immediately. I'm going to talk to you about dealing with anxiety. Why is it important? You know, I could keep writing this. It is important because your mental health affects your outcomes. So I'm scripting it directly in here. I'm going to get rid of this text in a moment and just replace it with an appropriate image. You'll notice as I press that, it starts a countdown. It wants to use my microphone, so I better allow it. It starts a countdown, and it counts me in a count of 3, and then I can start to record my voice. Hold that down. Hi, I'm Professor Kinney, and I'm going to talk to you today about dealing with anxiety. It's really important because your mental health affects your outcomes in school. So listen up. Okay, and you can review that. If you don't like it, you just simply re-record over. Hi, I'm Professor Kinney, and I'm going to talk to you today about dealing with anxiety. No, that's not me playing the guitar in the background. You'll notice a tab over here called music. You can have that music on or off. If it's on, I suggest that it go down to 10% because it can be quite overpowering. You've also got themes like in the website, and it can be branded themes or it can be these other ones here. I'm going to choose film noir. There we go. So I'm going to talk to you about dealing with anxiety. It's important because it affects outcomes in school. I can get rid of this just by throwing it in the trash and adding more content. So again, here I can add a photo just in the background. I can find free photos, and I'm just going to look again under anxiety. I can use this photo. I can also add text. I can click on here, add text. Now I can review it with the graphic in place. Hi, I'm Professor Kinney, and I'm going to talk to you today about dealing with anxiety. Okay. Maybe the music needs to go down a little bit more, but maybe we need something else. It's more thematic. There's one called Bringing Change. Okay, that has a sense of urgency to it. So this helps to set the emotional tone of the piece. So I'm going to go with that. So again, you can listen to that. Hi, I'm Professor Kinney, and I'm going to talk to you today about dealing with anxiety. And so on. Next one is the concept. Describe the concept you're teaching. Okay. So that's what I'm going to say here. This falls under the title of social and emotional learning. It's really focused on the fact that we all deserve self-love and self-care. Self-love and self-care are not rewards for things that we've done well. It's not meritorious. It's a simple fact that you and your life has value. Now, I hope you noticed that as I went on, it started to give me a warning. So it really bakes in brevity. It makes you mindful of keeping your points extremely succinct. So again, you can review that. This falls under the title of social and emotional learning. It's really focused on the... Okay, so if I'm okay with the voiceover, I could, if I wish, keep that title in there and locate another photo for the background.
Jim, this is Phil. Just a heads up that there's a few minutes left.
Okay, all right.
Before the end of the webinar.
And of course, as we go on, I'm just going to show you, you can add video. So I recorded a little piece of video and I can get in there and give an example. Locate that video. And you'll notice it has trim points on it. And it maxes out at 30 seconds. Now, you can go on longer than 30 seconds, but it's not recommended. But if you do, you can just continue it on another slide. But every slide is limited to a maximum of 30 seconds to try and ensure the brevity of your story. And so you can control the in and out points of this video. What I've learned over the years as a teacher is to only be... So if this is the little clip I want to use, I can test it. And now I've got it trimmed. I can save that. It's going to give that trimmed video clip. It will drop that into frame. So it's going to generate a video with video content as well. So now we've got video in there. And again, I could edit that video, some of the controls, editing the video. I could continue that clip onto the next frame. I could change the cropping of that video if I wanted to. And I can increase the loudness. I always recommend putting in loud for any sort of voiceover video. And again, and so we can put in still images. The final one is the ability to access an entire lexicon, a visual lexicon of iconography here. And so we can add these icons in and speak over those as well. A whole range of options. And of course, we'll end with the You Try It slide. You should give a go. Maybe create a lesson for your students on creating a video that is a reflection on how they're dealing with the situation of isolation and COVID and the impacts that that's having on their mental health. When you're done, it's as simple as you can download the video and you could bring that into other editing software if you wanted, publish it to other platforms, or you can share it to the Adobe Spark platform. And you just give it a title and pick a category, education, and it generates a link. And that sits on an Adobe server, the Spark video server. And as long as somebody has that link, they can get in there and access video. Now, once that's published, that link can then be embedded back into the website that I was creating earlier on. But I'll wrap it up there and just leave you with a personal challenge of logging on to Spark and just creating a little video reflection yourself. Do a little social and emotional learning yourself, reflecting on perhaps how you're coping over COVID. Now you can see it's taking a while here to generate that link. It really depends on the time of day. It can go quite fast, or if it's very busy, you just need to be patient. I'm just going to stop it there. And I want to thank you all for bearing with me. We also have Jason Katzoff here, and he's from Adobe. So I would, Jason, if you could put your email up there for anyone that had any questions regarding their institution's licensing of the Adobe Spark platform. I'm sure Jason would be more than happy to answer those questions. And I say that simply because we had something like 35,000 licenses for this project, George Brown, and most of our faculty were unaware of that fact. And so it may well be a duck sitting in the weeds in your own organization. So perhaps you want to ask Jason before you run off and purchase a paid version using your own coin. Thank you very much from all of you. Thank you, Dorina.
Jason, are you still on the line, Jason?
Jason, are you still in the chat?
Not sure if he's still on or not. Like, I was just wondering about the paid license versus the free license. Like a faculty could use Adobe Spark without the paid license and still have a good amount of features, or no?
The free version pretty much has most of the features except for the branding. I'm just sharing those links for you people. Want to copy those?
Thanks.
Hi, Philip. This is Huda from La Cité. So I tried it with with our La Cité email, and I had pretty much access to most of the feature. I haven't tried everything. I was trying to do to practice while looking at Jim's screen, but it looks like we have access to most of the features.
Okay, thank you. And Uda, I've used it a lot, so if you want more help, you can reach out to me anytime.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much, Phil. Thanks.
And here's Jason's.
Oh, thanks, Jim.